Hello and welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40. Created and hosted by me, journalist and author Sam Baker. This week's guest is so effortlessly chic, even when she got up at 6 a.m. to get the Eurostar, she still makes me feel a little bit not worthy. Caroline de Maigret is a producer, model, author, Instagram legend, and still, at the ripe old age of 45, a face of Chanel.
There are styles that I can't get away with anymore. Not because of my age, it's just because my face and my body, it just doesn't look good anymore.
Yep, even fashion icons age. And as if to prove it, Caroline has co-written a book, Older but Better, but Older. Listen on for Caroline's tips on loving your style post-40, even when it doesn't love you, whether it's tougher to age if your face has always been your fortune, and why she thinks age is no excuse for anything. So there. I'm here in Brown's Hotel in central London to meet the French model and producer Caroline de Maigret. Lovely to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about what prompted Older but Better, but Older.
I think time prompted it. You know, I'm 44 years old, so it's still very young.
Not very old.
It's still very young. But I still wanted to tell what it is to grow up. Little by little, you know, you're living your life and some surprises come along the road. People react to you differently. Society does it. And also your face changes without you asking for anything. And little by little, you understand you're not part of the youth club anymore. You know, you're not expecting it. But you'll have, for example, a girl who I met in a dinner who's telling me that she really likes me and that I'm an inspiration for her and that she really wants to look like me when she's old, you know, while she's only 32. And I'm like, well, we're the same. You know, I have friends from all kind of age. It's just a number. What I'm interested in is your mind. So it's all these kind of things. Or, you know, one day I went to the dermatologist to check on my beauty moles. And so she checked them and right away after she's like, but what are we going to do with your face? You know, it's all those little details in life.
Just completely unprompted, like you were...
Yeah, she went from a medical appointment to an aesthetical appointment, which I found a bit rude and even a bit violent in a way, because that's not where I wanted her to go. And I think you can get this knowledge from someone if you ask about it.
Yeah.
But for someone to bring it to your face, I think it's a bit odd.
Really not like you need it.
You know, it's putting a bomb into your brain and say, hey, you know, and so that you can start thinking about it when you look at yourself in the mirror.
It's like somebody standing on your shoulder going, oh, you need to do something about that.
Yeah,
which
is strange from a doctor.
Very.
And I was angry as well for all the other women that she did it to, you know.
Yeah, so it's not special to you, is it?
Yeah.
What are the other ways that you felt that you've been treated differently?
No, it's, you know, when people start to call you madame or all these things when you understand that things are not the same way as they used to be. Yet I'm still young and I understand it. So we wanted to narrate this in a fun way, in a way where we make fun of ourselves and of our fears and anxieties and how, you know, you go through them and learn how to live with them instead of living against them, and you know, and to digest them and to understand that's it's life. You have no choice. So let's just try to make it okay.
It's a lot better than the alternative. Let's face it.
Well, yeah.
And I kind of feel that quite a lot. And I have spent a fair amount of time moaning about it. And then I just thought, hang on a minute, hang on. Because
I'm okay.
You're here, you're healthy. Yeah, my waist is not where it used to be, annoyingly, but it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't really matter. And that's what's the nice thing. You're aging, understanding what matters or not. So it does help you to age in a easier way. Because you learn, you know, how to focus on other things that are more important than looking at yourself in the mirror.
And in the book you say you love where your brain is at, where your head is at as you get older, but the physical side of it, not so much. What are the main changes that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that your skin is not that much elastic anymore. The fact that there's some more mornings where, they're not equal. which it used to be.
And the pillow crease.
Oh, yeah, when you wake up with a pillow crease and then, a week later it's still there. And you understand it's just a new wrinkle. That's not fun. The weight that gets harder to lose. All this, but yeah, I mean, you get used to it. It's just the first time of everything that you have to get used to. The first white hair, the first white pubic hair, all these things. Yeah, it's just the surprises.
On the subject of white hairs, do you ever pull them out or do you leave them be?
No, I dye them.
You dye them?
I told my colorist a few years ago, and I told him I had my first white hair and that I took it out, of course, immediately. And he's like, no way, don't do that. The quality of hair that's growing behind is so thick.
Yeah, and wiry.
He's like, it's going to look like a wig hair, kind of. And he says to dye, it's a nightmare because it gives it a texture that's different. So he explained me I shouldn't do that. So no, I dye them. I'm not ready. I think I'm just trying to find reasons for myself to make it last longer and to still dye them for a while.
Also, you've got to hope you're going to be one of those women, which you probably will be, who has that fabulous kind of silvery grey, long silvery grey hair as opposed to wiry grey.
My mom dyes her hair, so I can't take her as a inspiration, but when I see my grandmothers, none of them were white.
Oh man.
It's fine. I think you just have to get used to things.
You've been modelling since you're 20 and you're prominent and you've got 870,000 followers on Instagram. Do you feel a pressure to kind of look a certain way or kind of keep up appearances?
I've had the chance to make my career upon authenticity and also on flows.
Yeah, flows. Yeah.
So I've always been okay with them. So the fact that people still take pictures of me, it does help for now. It does help where you're like, okay, it's not that bad yet. So actually, it's more of a help than the opposite. And the people that follow me, they've decided to choose to follow me. So it's they know where they're putting their feet, which is not perfection, that's for sure.
One of the things, I'm writing a book about this subject, and one of the things lots of people have said to me is, you can't be what you can't see, and they don't feel like there are a lot of women of your age and my age in the public eye that they can kind of think, it's still going to be fine. Do you feel like represented in the fashion and media industries?
I think it's getting better and better. I have to say that, at least as a French person, I've always had the chance to look up to icons and role models that always help me to age and understand that, it's okay. Like, I don't know, Simone de Beauvoir, Marguerite Duras, Agnès Varda, or even Charlotte Rampling, or, who's English as well. Yeah. There are icons that help you to understand that there's more than physique. I've understood also a long time ago that the fashion icons were never the most beautiful ones. They were the wittiest ones. They were the intellectual ones. They were, the funniest ones, but never the most good-looking ones. So, when you understand all this, I think it's okay. And regarding fashion, I think, society is evolving. There's still a lot of things to do, but I think it bites its own tail in a way that... Do you say that in English?
Bites its own tail?
No?
I know what you mean. No, what do we say?
Like a vicious circle in a way, like an endless circle or something. But when I was modeling in the 90s, women were not ready to see themselves into older women or women of their age. I mean, you were a fashion director.
It was all Kate Moss, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also, you appealed to, have fashion. It looked cooler on a younger girl. And you might have found it cheesy at the time in the 90s when it was on an older woman or something. I think we were not ready yet, but maybe because society was not proposing it as well. You educate people into taste and things.
Yeah,
but sometimes doesn't make you dream.
No, when I was editing magazines, people would say, "Oh, why don't you put real people on the cover?" This would have been back in the 90s and noughties. And then you did put somebody who looked more real on the cover, and then it wouldn't sell. Whereas now, that's exactly what's working. Different, Billy Porter on Allure and Celeste Barber on In Style, and those things they're interesting now.
Yeah, I think now, it's more the time where, people indulge themselves into a better, understanding of who they are and wanting to know stories and have people that carry stories with them of life and change things for the better.
Do you feel like you're treated differently to men of your age?
I feel there's some men that would have flirted with me before that don't look at me anymore.
It's their loss.
No, but I understand. But I feel more, invisible to some of them. But it's still, I'm still, lucky, and young anyway. And so, but I do feel a change of the invisibility.
Yeah, and if even you do, what hope is there for the rest of us, frankly?
No, there is, because it's just not the good ones.
Yeah, the whole thing with the whole men Silver Fox thing as well, isn't there?
In the book.
Because I'm 53, and I definitely feel like men of my age are really in their prime, And you're like, and I'm like, oh, should I dye my hair? Do I need to pretend to be younger? I don't pretend to be younger, but I don't feel like that pressure is on men in the same way.
Well, it's easier to age when society tells you that it's nice to have prime hair and that belly is cute, It's
not.
No, it is, whatever it is. It is, it's not, whoever, it is funny that society put that into all of our minds, because why would that be?
Yeah, exactly. Dad bod, it's cute. Mum bod, not so much.
So it is a pressure for women. But I think all this is changing, I think.
It's definitely getting better. In this country, there's I think there's a movement towards women in their 40s and 50s starting to talk about aging in an accepting way and we're not going to be invisible, so get used to it. But also and talking about menopause and making people talk about menopause. How is that in France?
Well, I'm not there yet.
No, you're not.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
won't tell you. Mine started
every time
really
I'm
young.
hot, I'm like, oh, is it it?
You'll know. You'll say no.
Okay.
It's not just the heat. Don't worry. It's the anxiety. But I won't depress you. Just carry on.
Oh, God.
Is it swept under the carpet, or is it something that people are starting to talk about?
No, I think I think we know about it. And I think it's quite honest about it. And I think actually that's also why we wrote this book, is because this is more notorious. Because you learn about it at school, in biology.
Menopause?
Yeah, but
do you?
In biology class.
Oh, amazing! We didn't learn anything.
Oh yeah, no, we learned this at school. So I think you're more aware of all this, rather than the way of growing up. And becoming an adult is less known. That's why I kind of wanted to nail that little moment where you're an adult forever now.
You can't pretend you're not grown up anymore.
Exactly.
Well, you can, but you can't really.
Yeah, but you're allowed to be 18 in your head forever.
Yeah, totally. What's your emotional age?
32. I thought about it.
That's really specific. You have thought about it.
Yeah, because, it's being a woman, having the knowledge, yet feeling still young and which I am. I know I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, 32. I guess it's the age I want to be.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to... I know everybody always says it, but I wouldn't want to go back to my 20s.
No, me
But
neither.
yeah, kind of like mid-30s, that was good.
I mean, there is no age I want to be else than the one I am right now. But I would love to go back to 18 with my mind of now. With the serenity and the knowledge I have now. That would be like, whoa.
That would be perfect.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, you'd be unstoppable. Yeah, but to have gone through everything that you've been through. Because I think that's one of the things that we don't really credit older people, but particularly older women with, is the stuff you've lived through. Mm-hmm. And the stuff that we've survived and how that shapes you in your decision making and to a certain extent your face. And I wouldn't want to lose that, really.
Oh, no. I mean, it's too good. The serenity it brings... to understand your anxieties, to feel them coming and try to live with them and avoid those moments, even though you're still going through them, but to be a bit more gentle on it, and all this is, it feels great. You
mentioned right at the beginning the dermatologist. Have you dabbled with Botox and injectables?
Yeah, I haven't gone there yet. And I'm looking at everything. Yeah. I'm looking for the magic swan that's going to be, like just me 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I really dislike the idea of transformation. Mm. I don't want to look like anyone else than who I am.
Or that kind of slightly alien effect of foreheads that don't move.
Yeah, I mean, which is fine, is everyone finds their peace wherever they find it. And I know that's not mine. That's not where I want to go. But yet I would love to do it. The thing is, we're not all equal in aging, and on some it's amazing to have fillers and or surgery or whatever. On some I like it less. And I don't know in the lottery what it's going to look on me. Yeah. So I'm not ready to get the ticket yet.
There's a great quote in the book, a Chanel quote, where she says, I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember it, but you have genes give you the face you have at 20 and you earn the face that you have at 50.
Yeah, the one you deserve. Yeah,
the face you deserve. Yeah. And even more so when you're 70 or 80. But it's almost like when women have a lot of work, and I think it's entirely up to them, but then they lose that kind of mobility and experience in their face.
Yeah, but if you can't look at yourself,
no,
if that helps to like yourself better, I understand it.
Yeah,
I understand it, and I think it's more about trying to search for happiness somewhere else. Maybe sometimes you try to put excuses on things, like age is an excuse for things.
Yeah.
For not having the life you want and the projections you want. So you're going to put age instead of trying to find the right reasons. And I think that's more the key, but I understand, if it goes through your face, it goes through your face. It's just... happiness is a hard work.
Very.
And it's, I think it's a process, and you have to always kind of like give you wake up calls. And
one of the things that has really come through when I've been speaking to women is how much change is kind of built into being a woman. You have puberty, if you have children, you have a child, then you hit menopause and your body changes again, and that maybe that isn't built into men in the same way. A lot of women have said to me they feel like their partners are like, oh yeah, this is all fine, we'll just carry on sticking along. And
well, I mean, it's true that we become aware of our body and of who we are quite early with puberty and having, your periods. And there is something, and you start having figures like breast and, and all this does touch your innocence, I think, compared to men, probably. There is something that you have to be more aware suddenly, of your pain, of that your body is changing. It's very eloquent as a woman, and so there is probably an inequity there, super early, while men could have it the same way all their life. I mean, the Peter Pan syndrome is not for nothing.
No.
They don't have much changes in their life.
No, it's not forced on them, is it? So they. And how?
I really wonder how, if they had periods, if we would have better painkillers.
Oh, so much.
I mean, especially PMS pills, you know what I mean? We would have so cool life.
It'd be so much. And if they had menopause, HRT, there wouldn't be, there'd be so much research, and there would be parties, and it just would be a whole different ball game. But we can change that. It's time to change that.
I know, but we need more people into science, women giving money to science. But also, it's the same for, the biological clock. It would be so different in relationships as well, in heterosexual relationships or whatever. If the men would need to, can't make kids after a certain age, that would change it all, because at the end of the day, you unconsciously want to reproduce yourself. Or not.
Or not, yeah, if you can.
Or not. No, even if you can, some don't, some won't, but you know what I mean? It would have changed a lot of things as well.
Yeah, there's a great comment that I really identified with in the book about how you're grown up because people have stopped asking you if you're going to have another child. Or in my case, any child. How old were you when that happened?
When they stopped?
Yeah.
I think it's maybe... Yeah, when I turned 40, more or less. It was so annoying. It's never enough.
Yes.
You never belong to the society's dream.
Let's talk a bit about fashion, because you're annoyingly cool and a very monochrome look today.
Yeah, well, it's a travel look.
Several women have said to me that they feel, and I felt this actually, that they kind of in a way fell out of their love with their clothes, or in fact their clothes fell out of love with them in their 40s. And you go from thinking that you haven't got anything to wear today, because you always feel like that, don't you, to really feeling like that because all your fail-safes have started to let you down. You're not feeling like that yet, clearly, because you're looking pretty amazing. Black turtleneck, black skinny jeans, brogues.
There are styles that I can't get away with anymore. Not because of my age. It's just because my face and my body, it just doesn't look good anymore. Not because for morality.
For the audience, I'm just going to say she looks stunning. So I think she could probably get away with it.
No. For example, preppy looks that I love, it looks lady on me now. I just can't. It doesn't work anymore.
That kind of Hoxton-y...
like Alexa
collar.
Chung.
Yes,
kind of like the collar and the...
Oh, yeah, but she wears those all the time, doesn't
I know,
she?
and she's a good friend of mine. I'm like, oh.
Oh, no, I'd look like, I don't know.
But it's a style I love, and it doesn't work on me anymore at all. It never did really, because of my androgynous kind of look. But now it doesn't work anymore. So there are a few stuff, and there are some colors that have become hard as well, and but so I've put them away. And also,
what colors?
I think I'm yellow, some greens, some some not. I'll say maybe some not vivid colors, maybe like kind of like don't work too much anymore. Like an old pink doesn't work anymore on me. Doesn't work with my complexion that has changed a bit.
Yeah, that's the real. I think that's the doubt. Almost worse than the hair going grey, for me, has been the change of skin tone.
Mm-hmm. It's odd because you have
even
to
pastier.
Yeah, and you have to relearn everything, which is odd because at least one good thing about aging is knowledge, and experience. So you'd think that all the products you've put together as the perfect makeup kit, all those years, and that now you have to change of colors for your blush and colors for your foundation, and do blurry lines now. And
no more hard lines.
Yeah, no more hard lines, no more graphic. Make it all a little gentle. No, and also I don't wear too much stuff that are tight anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, today I have skinny jeans, but that's I don't like it too much anymore on me.
But you've got quite a, well, like you say, androgynous kind of masculine style anyway, haven't you? Do you think that that's, in a way, it's kind of easier to age if that's your style, if you weren't a really girly dresser?
Why?
Well, I just wonder whether, I don't know. I just wonder whether, I suppose thinking of myself, I think if you kind of grow up, I grew up knowing that I wasn't one of the, the pretty girls, one of the girly girls. And so as I got older, I started to dress, wear trousers a lot, like big jackets. And that kind of became my look, my big red hair and that. And I just wonder whether if you're someone who really plays up your femininity, it becomes harder or not.
I don't know. I think there is nothing more attractive than when I see women, in a dinner or wherever I go, and in the restaurant, and I see them, and you feel like they've taken time to do their makeup and to dress really well and to do their hair really well. I'm always amazed by that femininity, and I can see how people react to it. There's something very sexy at the same time about someone that takes care of themselves so well. And I think this femininity does age well. Yeah, no, I think it's nice.
That's good. So, have you got any kind of tips or advice for women, kind of entering this stage and just feeling slightly at a loss with their personal style? Yeah, style-wise, yeah.
There is a few tips I like. I have to say that on some pieces that I like and that I used to like that don't work nowadays when I go in a shop, I found out that if I take it a size or two sizes up, it gives a very graphic kind of aesthetic that has become very interesting as a look, to be stylish. It's a nice trick. I also always found very elegant to have one really strong piece, for example, a very nice jacket but colorful or with a pattern, or like a pair of trousers or whatever. Choose one strong piece and balance it with a monochrome look. This I love to do, and I always find this very, very chic. There is a trick which is to, for example, if you have a few different colors in a jacket or threads, to choose one of the thread for the monochrome look. That always works, and it's always nice. What else do I like? I do a lot of accessories now to give a little fun, because I'm quite classic in my style. Yeah. So, it's going to be like a fun bag, colorful, or just fun, and colorful nails. I do a lot of nails. What else do I do style-wise? I like to put myself into characters, I like to think of people like Keith Richards, for example.
Yeah.
to bring a little rock and roll into my outfits, and or I think a lot of Katharine Hepburn also. She's a great inspiration for me in the androgynous, elegant look.
There's a brilliant anecdote in the book about Katharine Hepburn. Can you remember it, about how you started wearing managed dress? Can you tell us?
Yeah, how I got my androgynous look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when I was, it was a summer holiday, eve of my, coming into university, and I was in a club, and this guy came up to me and said I had a low butt.
Just like out of nowhere.
Yeah, but it's one of those tricks to flirt on you by putting you down.
Yeah.
So it becomes, it's like you're lucky to have someone that actually comes and talk to you, because you don't look that good down. People will put you down to get the power.
My coat. Yeah.
I know, exactly. Oh, okay, great. Let's kiss. So that was it. But it was interesting because, I was 17 and I had never looked at myself in the mirror. I understood that day that I had only looked at myself, to see if I had toothpaste stuck around my mouth after brushing my teeth. And we're 4 kids. And so it wasn't about the aesthetic at home. My mom was raising us, and I would get the clothes from my older sister, my older brother. It wasn't about how we looked. And I'm glad,
Yeah.
And I'm glad. But, and it wasn't an era either of the iPhones now and of, over sharing your looks, or it wasn't that time.
Yeah.
It was the mid-90s. And anyway, and so I came back home and I looked at my behind, which I hadn't, it's behind. It's hard to look at it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, he's right.
Oh, no.
And that summer, I started walking like a crab.
Oh,
from the towel to the sea, for no one to see my butt anymore. But that's interesting, actually, in aging, is to realize on how you used to look at yourself before, and then you look at the pictures and you're like, oh my God, I was so cute, and I was so hard on myself, or when I was a model, and I was always eating well, and maybe a bit too much for the job. But I was still thin.
Yeah.
But they always made me feel like I wasn't.
If the job had its way, you wouldn't really eat at all.
But you remember how we used to have to be so skinny at the time. And I looked at the pictures the other day and I was like, oh my God, I've done all my 20s thinking I was too big while I was so skinny.
And you were so great.
And that's a good... we put something like this in the book saying... enjoy the face you have now. That's the one you'll regret in 10 years.
Yeah, that's so true.
So just enjoy who you are now, because you're okay. And we all do the best we can, and it's okay. So back to Katharine Hepburn and that guy and the club.
Who told you your butt was low.
So I, the day before I went to uni, I was like, oh my God, I have to find a way to hide that butt. So I was looking for large pants, and I didn't have any. So I went into my brother's closet, and I found a pair of, men's pants. So I took them. I took a big belt, and I put the waist really high. And it was inspired from, movies with Katharine Hepburn, who would always put her, high-waisted pants and a white shirt in it, and she would open one button too much. And I thought it was so sexy and so powerful, especially for the time, even more. She really had her own sexuality into her hands and who she was, and so I reflected upon that image, and so that's what I did to go to uni. So basically, I pushed a bit further the big pants to making it look cool. You know what I mean? I searched for the kind of like the stylish way of having large pants. And I arrived at that uni and everyone told me about my style, which was the first time of my life. And I understood that I nailed something stylish, thanks to an accident in a way, like trying to hide a flaw. I said it right this time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and it's also a good lesson to listen to people.
Yeah, so he was
not this
arsehole,
one, not this guy.
No,
Not this guy. What I mean is listen to when people told me I looked interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
I understood that it was a style that worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but that's what style is finding what works with your personality, with who you are, how you want to be perceived, and just just your personality. And it's the same nowadays since, my face is changing. I'm really being careful on what people say, because I've noticed that, for example, if I wear white, people always ask me if I come back from a weekend in the countryside. So, after a while you understand, you're like, oh, okay, that's the second time I'm being told, this kind of thing on a white blouse. So, okay, this can be my friend. It does work with my complexion. It does work, so you find those pieces now that are your friends.
Yeah.
That, I have that for the leather jacket. It's my amour. When I wear a leather jacket, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I usually do it on weekdays, like when I feel a bit weak, because it helps me, it gives me a strength. Yeah. So it's find your pieces and what works for you and who you are.
And stick with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've just got a few quick fire questions that I always ask at the end. So firstly, what one thing would you want to say to younger women?
I'll say be curious, because that's the key to anything. Learn, do things, be active, be alive. And what you do is already a lot. So be proud of yourself, because, it's okay.
Yeah. What would your superpower be?
I think I'm a good mother.
Interesting.
I think I like myself the most as a mother. That's where I'm the most proud of myself. For some reason, I get much more tolerant and tender and sweet as a mother, while I can be more aggressive and in a regular basis. So, yeah.
Give us a book recommendation.
Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir.
Really? It's a long time since I read that.
It's so modern. It's so on point about women and what it is to be a woman. It's incredible.
Is it a book you've reread?
Yes, I reread it 2 years ago, and I was amazed.
Oh, that makes me want to reread it.
Well, good. It's a good book.
Who are the older women role models that you look up to?
I have loads, but there is one that's a major one for me, which is Agnès Varda, who is a French director. She was famous in the Nouvelle Vague. She was actually the only woman director of the Nouvelle Vague period. She's a friend of mine. She died when she was 91 last year. Yeah. She is the most incredible example of how to age, how to keep projects forever, how to believe in your projects forever, how to be allowed to dream at whatever age you are, allowed to fall in love with people, with art, with anything. I mean, she became, an artist, like a contemporary artist at the age of 85. She started to do exhibitions, and age has never been an excuse for anything, and she forbid me to make it an excuse, and her sex was never an excuse for anything either. So she's an amazing inspiration. She was the biggest feminist, but nothing would stop her of doing any of her dreams, and it wasn't even a question, ever. So this is the most, inspiration. I mean, I've been in a table, at dinner table with her, and she would be like, "Oh, I'm so thirsty," and I would, stand up and ask, and go grab a glass of water, and she would stop me and say, "Hey, if you stand up, what do I have left?" So she would be so alive, so active until the last second I mean, she really did it all, and she's an incredible woman and an incredible example.
She sounds amazing.
Yeah, age is never an excuse for anything. That's the best line to live up to.
And lastly, how many fucks do you give?
None and loads.
Yes.
I feel really free, really free of doing whatever I want. Yet, for some reason, I still care for what people think.
I think that's a really good point to end. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
You're
It was
brilliant.
fun. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can reach me on Twitter at Sam Baker and Instagram at The Other Sam Baker using the hashtag #TheShift. You can hear a new episode of The Shift each week on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please do rate and subscribe because it really does help other people find us.